The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
CBR Street Gang, this is all by standing by, over.
Hey guys, how are y'all doing? I hope that you can hear this okay. I've noticed that when I record in my recording studio, my mic, it's actually not my mic, it's when I push record and it starts. It sounds like this mini burp sound at the beginning and it's so irritating. I'm like, I don't even know how to burp, okay? I'm not even allowed to do that. And I'm so I don't know if it's on here again, I'd be so mad. Um, so I want to talk about how extraterrestrials travel, and I do kind of want to start this out being very present, though. And I have to admit, I don't know how it is for you guys, and I don't know. Am I talking to anyone at all? It's like I get no views now. And I guess that's okay. It's like, am I in the Truman Show or am I a ghost and I've been dead and don't know it? Because it's been so long since I've talked to anyone that's not in my tiny circle of people I know and see all the time. Like, is this all a fake reality happening right now? Is it like I don't know, Groundhog Day? But I will say it was really nice today. I'm recording this on the 14th eclipse and in the evening, and the goldenrod is showing off. It is so beautiful. It's everywhere. I want to pick it and I want to have it all over my house. I have cats who would drag it everywhere. And I need to probably make some more tinctures with it. I think we still have some, but uh, it's just stunning. It glows so golden in the evenings when everything is hazy. The breeze is so nice and cool. I just love October weather when it's actually October weather. Okay. Uh I also want to kind of like branch into asking some very valid questions either to abductees or about them. So if any of you have your own ideas, I'd like to hear, right? Uh And I know we have heard, I don't know, conversations for decades of how on earth do aliens travel? Do ETs travel light years without, aging? Or there's so many theories in the old days of how to travel through time and space and alternate dimensions. And um, everyone is trying to debate over how we can get it done. Some claim we already are. You have some people out there saying that there's a, what is that called? Chronicarchy. Have y'all heard that? What do y'all think of that? So, I don't know. Especially with the Mandela effect thing, if it comes to like time travel stuff, it seems like it would be reasonable to travel into the past, but not necessarily into the future from where you are because the future is fluid. So it's like some people act like because of that, the very real present isn't real enough and it doesn't really matter because there's a million versions of now. And I really don't believe that. I really feel like this 3D reality, which every, what is it? Prosperity guru wants us to hurry up and rush into 5D or something. I feel like we're here for a reason. And if you go all the way back to the ancient days, Enoch says it's for testing. We're here to be tested, to test our mettle, see if we are actually worth being in the higher dimensions. And I suppose that makes sense, even though I hate that reason. I mean, there's so much suffering. I've gone through so much suffering. Evil gets away with way too much. But I guess if it's for testing, maybe it makes sense because, I mean, if you were like the king of the universe and you had everything at your fingertips, wouldn't you want to test those to make sure that they're not like going to ruin your kingdom before you let them in? I guess. I don't know. I guess that's one way people put it. But it seems like traveling in the future wouldn't be real because it's just one possibility. Like when I've had what I call deja vu dreams, which I hate all of these fake psychotherapist-y people trying to explain deja vu away when they're idiots and don't know what they're talking about. Um, when I dream of the future, uh, I will feel the deja vu when it happens. Most people just don't remember. Like, they probably did dream it, but most of our dreams are so deep in our subconscious. I've actually heard, like, when you call a they saying, "Oh, she's not supposed to remember that," because I had woken up from a certain dream and I was replaying it in my mind, and they're like, "She's not supposed to remember that," and I like snapped back into deep sleep, and I woke up and I couldn't remember it, and I was so mad because a lot of these spiritual entities, both good and evil, are constantly trying to download stuff in our subconscious to control the way we behave, which I'm not very fond of. And so, a lot of people, when they have deja vu, they don't remember why. And I don't always, but many times I have because I literally am like, wait a minute, I'm exactly where I dreamt I was going to be doing the exact same thing. And I've even written it down in my journals. The only difference was I was wearing a different t shirt. I even wrote down the t shirt that it was and then the t shirt that it was supposed to be because it's those little tiny choices of free will that we make. Even though I don't feel like we have as much free will as we want, because all of the powers and principalities of the air are consistently trying to corral us in the direction they want. So, with the future being fluid, I was still a bit questionable about the whole time travel thing. I don't know. Now, what I do want to talk about though is certainly about how these ETs travel, and the reason why is because I had a dream where a spirit showed me how they travel. And if none of you, if anyone ever listens to this or watches it, wherever you get this, um, don't know, like, I am what I call a dreamer. I could even say somewhat of a dream walker. In shamanism, that's usually someone who's doing it while they're awake dancing or something. But I don't really see it like that. I feel like some of us that are really, really strong dreamers and dream walkers, if you've done a lot of lucid dreaming and a lot of astral travel, not even intentionally, you have that gift built into you. Like, some people have experienced astral and sleeping paralysis like a handful of times, and I have probably gone through it like countless times, countless, when I was young and I didn't have a way out, right? So I got a lot better at controlling my thought life and my behavior and my attitude about life, and that really helped. And I don't have it now, since I'm so prayed up, and I cleanse my energy a lot. I use a selenite and sage and palo santo and incense and egg cleanses, and of course prayer and cleansing my home, my land, everything. So I don't really have negative experiences anymore. It's extremely rare, maybe a couple times a year. I still do end up in astral a few times a year, but that it used to be nightly when I was young. Okay, so uh, sometimes now it's usually when something wants to give me a message. I've had ghosts wake me up. Like, that show Ghost Whisperer was cute, but like, some people claim they really do see spirits like that and that they're everywhere and it's super crowded with spirits everywhere. And I don't know if I believe that or not, but I kind of feel like, why would anyone believe me, right? I mean, we all have such varied experiences. And of course, you don't have to believe me. I actually really think it's important to listen to what I say if you feel called to, but, take it with a grain of salt, in that use it as a piece of the puzzle. Don't assume I know everything or that I'm always right. But it's amazing when you compare notes of multiple people that have prophetic dreams or that have experiences, and see how they are similar, especially if it's people that didn't know each other. So they're not like feeding off of each other. Now, usually now, if I experience it, like, I will have a ghost come and tell me something. And it's really crazy because they, um, oftentimes, I might have several ghosts in the room when that happens, but they're usually all connected. And I guess that's for a different day. But this dream I had, I'd say maybe a few weeks ago, right? Uh, let's see. If I ever pause, it's because I'm looking at my notes, and I'm sorry, but that's just me. Um, okay. So this is strange, but the way Spirit showed me is almost like ET's like flight patterns almost like cause congestion in the spirit realms, and that's because like they actually do travel in astral. Some people might want to call it quantum or whatever. And this is strange because I did this video a few months ago on how spirits travel. And of course, I got the few quack comments that were like, I'm the quack, right? And I'm like, you seriously took the time to click on my video and tell me what you think of me. And you really think I want to leave your stupid comment up like, oh, walk away now. And then you have some people that are just debating me like, oh, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. And it's like, look, I spoke about how spirits travel through literal experience because I am a channel. Um, I have communicated with spirits, I don't know, probably most of my life. And it's not like I conjure them or call them in. I don't try to be their friends. You'd have to go listen to that video to get it. But anyway, what's strange is in this dream, Spirit showed me that the way ETs travel is so similar. Uh, the problem is they're causing a problem. The problem is they're causing a problem. That sounds great. Okay. Okay, the way they showed it to me You know, when you're an astral spirit can literally just think of a place and they're there. Okay, there's no actual walking to it. That's why I did kind of explain this in the other video in details. Like, say that movie, The Others, I thought was so um realistic. I don't watch it unless you get it free. Please, I don't want Nicole Kidman and her you know, creepy Luciferian cult ring to have like money. After I found out the truth about her watching the Candy Girl documentary, and you know, I'm sorry, even if people don't want to believe it, her dad was literally on trial for satanic ritual abuse when he died. Like Epstein. He is like the Epstein of Australia. Okay. And this girl in the Candy Girl documentary said Nicole was there and literally stepped on her head and shoved her head in the water and stuff like that. I mean, she's psycho, okay? Psycho. There's no way I would ever spend money on that bitch. Needless to say, Practical Magic and The Others were two of my favorite movies. Not I have multiple movies I do like, but because I don't watch a lot of fiction, the only reason why I ever watched Supernatural or Once Upon a Time TV series was because that was when I first got sick with fibromyalgia and I had I guess the Epstein-Barr virus or something, and I was sick with a fever for 2 years. So I was so knocked down that I actually had no energy, strength, or time, or I should say, I had plenty of time, but I had nothing I could do. I was completely broken. And if God did not slow me down, I would be too busy learning to ever stop and watch anything. But it gave a lot of bonding time between me and my daughter watching those. It was nice. So anyway, you know how the spirits in the movie The Others, it's like they try to walk away and they keep ending up in this fog and they can't like find their way out, okay? And then when her husband shows up, I think he showed up there because he just thought of the place. And then he's still lost. And then he tries to go back out. And spirits that try to travel by foot get lost or they feel trapped. Like Beetlejuice is another great example. I mean, come on, these movies don't come out with this if it wasn't for experience knowing this, okay? And I think with E.T.s, it's more along the lines of like, say, in their ship, they type in coordinates and they're like, bam, they're there. Like coordinates, bam, there. Like it's like that fast, that instantaneous and that simple. But I still think that the ships are designed to fly in this physical reality too, obviously, because we've seen them move. I've seen um I think it's going to be in this podcast where the video version is going to kind of show an example of the light that we saw go over, which was crazy. Like I really thought it was a helicopter, but no sound. And it got closer and closer. It was coming down off of the mountain and literally heading right for us with no sound. And I'm sitting here thinking of like that, what is that? That hill story, that couple that like had these all I know is I was thinking of like, oh heck no, because I have heard, I think somehow they got duped into saying yes, sort of, right? And me and my daughter really see too many connections with the Fae and aliens, and that was before the Supernatural episode too, which is hilarious. I would totally be a Dean Winchester. I swear to God, if they took me up there, I wish I had a pistol and a knife, and I would just have to go crazy. Um, but every single time I see like a craft, an unidentified craft, which we don't know if it's just a government craft or not, right? We don't know if it's like ETs or not. And so it was coming for us so bright, huge. And so I really did think it was like a helicopter looking for something. That's why I was wanting to walk towards, like, what is it after? I was thinking something's going to come out of the trees at any moment that is like I got a spotlight on, but no, and there was no sound. And so as it got really close, legit, like I don't know, a few yards from our property line and where we were standing, I was like, I don't want to get probed. Don't want to get probed. I do not. No, 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 no. And I noticed anytime I tell these beings no, it's like they listen, thank God. Or, I mean, maybe they just mind zap you and you forget, right? I'm so scared to have a regression. Like, no, 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 no. Um, but anyway, we all three, my ex and my daughter and me, watched this thing take off. It just went up in the air. But the weirdest thing is it kept going and going and going. And then all of a sudden it looked like a shooting star or a satellite. and just went away and disappeared in space. It was really strange. Um, so obviously they can travel physically too, but I think if they're traveling long distance or if they're traveling um, in a hurry, they just like travel through astral instead. And the way it was shown to me is even though it's instantaneous in the way it feels, there's still like astral highways. And just because we can't see it doesn't mean they're not there. Say, I can tell when the spirits in Galveston still try to communicate with me, especially if I go to other historical places where they probably have spirits that they know in other places. Whenever I go to Fort Smith or Hot Springs, it's like they're very historical and ghostly, and it's like these ghosts communicate because I'll get all of these like signs and kind of reminders of the Galveston ghost still caring about me. It's really bizarre and really unique and special. And it's like when they go from one place to another, it really is kind of like a highway. I remember ages ago, I had a dream. I used to visit cemeteries a lot when I lived in East Texas, and that's where I'd have downtime. And sometimes the spirits would come to me in dreams and tell me their problems. And people have this idea that spirits don't stay in cemeteries, which actually that's completely bunk. A lot of them do. And I've had also dreams where I was in the coffin being walked by pallbearers and I could see through the coffin. I could just see their legs moving. And I knew, and I was in and out of sleep as it was happening. Like, like not my dream me, but actually I was experiencing what the spirit wanted me to see. Some spirit is that like sometimes when you die, you're not all just snapped out of it and shot up into these near death experiences in some other 5D dimension. Not everyone goes through that. Some of people actually have trouble waking up from the death sleep, like Sheol, the realm of the dead where nobody speaks, right? And so they're in their body and they'll kind of snap out of it and then see things and then go back to sleep. And that was one thing I thought Supernatural had sort of well when it came to Bobby, the way they would explain how sometimes when spirits would try way too hard to do something, it's like they would fall asleep or black out and they might miss time, like days, weeks, months, years before they wake up again if they try to use too much energy to communicate, you know? And so many of them do end up staying with their body. A lot of cultures believe they're with their body for like 3 days on average, you know. And a lot of times when you end up in the cemetery, you see a lot of other spirits who chose to stay too. And one reason why they do is because they want to speak to their loved ones. And every time you follow them to their home, if they're mourning you, you notice that you make it worse because they can feel your presence there. And so they can't get over you. They keep crying. And so sometimes they prefer to just wait at the cemetery. And also, they can only travel, like I said, with what they know. So they think of the person and they think of where their body is, and they just snap. They're there, right? And so the spirits oftentimes resort to staying at the cemetery, sometimes way longer than they should. They should cross over, but they don't because they know their loved ones are going to come back and want to talk to them there. And sometimes they're there for hundreds of years and they realize their loved ones have all died and gone and no one comes to visit them anymore and it gets a little lonely. And sometimes they just talk to other ghosts that stay in the cemetery. Now, when it comes to these ETs, the problem is these highways, which I guess I need to get back to what I was saying with the cemetery in East Texas. They came to me in a dream once and even complained about the new roads that were going to be built, which was going to make it harder for them to travel to their friends in a different cemetery. So, which actually happened. Years later, they built a big highway or some kind of loop between Werewolf Lane Cemetery south of Tyler and another cemetery. Werewolf Lane Cemetery is Barron Cemetery. And then the other cemetery, I forget what it was called. It might have been Shiloh or something like that, right? Anyway, there's a lot of spirits there. And they had family buried at these different cemeteries, and they like to travel with each other to talk. And they knew that all these new roads being built was going to make it hard for them to do so because even though they don't physically walk, the energy of the cars going through heavily kind of disrupts that flow somehow. So even though astral feels instantaneous, somehow energy does affect it. And what spirit showed me in the dream was like, imagine a red, blue, and yellow line and going down, like, say, if you look like a Google map, like, say you're using like a GPS and you see the roads. It's almost like they were showing me three different colored lines, and one was actually for cryptids. And I was like, oh, that explains a lot. Because a lot of people like wonder how come, many of us have seen Bigfoot, and I've seen it, and why do people see these things and there's no body? Like, so many people are obsessed with, like, either it's not real at all, or Bigfoot hunters, like, so many of them are absolutely obsessed with believing they're just an ape in the forest, an ape man in the forest that is flesh and blood, and has no supernatural capabilities, and they're just an elusive animal. But then you have people, like hunters. Like, I know, my dad is like a longtime hunter, and he's like, there's no flesh and blood body, so that's just not real. And I'm like, yeah, it's real. I've seen them. And he started to debunk a lot of stuff. Like, I know me and him and my uncle sat up one night talking about all the cryptids we've seen. My uncle was stationed in Florida for a while and saw skunk apes and stuff. And then all of a sudden, he started telling me none of that exists. It's not real. It never happened. And I'm like, yeah, it did. And I really wonder if my uncle didn't tell him to tell me that to shut up, because my uncle worked for the military for years. And I will say that he even confessed to him. He must have been having a midlife crisis, because he even confessed to them killing some teenagers. Um, he said that, I don't know, like in Tennessee or somewhere in the Smokies, there was a waterfall, and these teenagers were swimming there, and it was like a top secret thing, and like they weren't supposed to be there, so they killed him and then lied and said like they drowned or something. This is just what the military does. Okay, I mean, it's what they do. Our government is great. I mean, they did the same thing here. They had kids here that somewhere they said died on railroad tracks and stuff, and they were smoking weed. Not true. Like, look up the like Mina Bill Clinton like stuff. Okay, so anyway, this is a wild journey, and I feel like I got, I don't know, blackballed by my family and my dad shutting me down. But it wasn't until the kids were getting older, and I feel like it's maybe because they just don't want me to talk about this stuff, right? Like, it's hush hush. We pretend this stuff doesn't exist. I don't play that game. I just don't. That's probably why my videos get no views. But anyway, these three lines is the cryptid and the ET and the spirits. But what the spirit was showing me is that ETs are traveling these roads, these highways, too much, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, to the point it is causing extreme congestion and like intersections that are like throwing, the cryptids and spirits off. And this is where you get these like places like Skinwalker Ranch, because people want to say that they're vortexes or something. And just know, I haven't really watched the new weird, I don't know, what do you would call it, mockumentary, documentary, fake reality stuff that they do on the shows now. It's a disgrace. I try, but it's just like, it takes them what, an hour to talk about like 3 minutes of actual fact. Mostly it's a bunch of like, I don't know, people will think I'm so left wing when I say this, and I'm not. I'm an agorist, but it's like mostly these super privileged old white dudes. They get paid way too much money to blab around and do stuff. I don't care if it's like, whatever these reality shows are, it's like these guys get to just like get paid to be on a vacation. And even if they're not paid a lot, they literally just get to, like the ancient aliens too. It's like, how you got paid to freaking go to South America and Peru and stuff. I would love to do that. And the amount of information you got from it was aliens. Like, thanks. I could have told you that. And I would love to travel. Okay. That was my dream job, was to work for Nat Geo when I was a kid. And no, these guys get to travel to literally give us, like, they could have like summed up each one of those episodes in legit 3 minutes. Like, they just waste our time spoiling themselves. Okay. And no, I don't, it's annoying. But I did used to like listen to podcasts on Skinwalker Ranch and things, I don't know, years ago. Even when I didn't want to get into the UFO stuff, mostly because I was more into like cryptids, because I had seen both a dogman, and I wasn't sure if it was really Bigfoot or dogman because it was dark. That's like on another old video, but it was huge and angry. um, but anyway, I was really wanting to figure that out. Like, that's one reason why I'm like, maybe I need to get into the experiencer scene, simply because I I see people that are in paranormal or in cryptids or in ufology, but the only ones that seem to have had experiences with all of the above are more into the ufology. And I'm like, why is that? Is that weird? How come? Like, I thought I was a weirdo. I actually thought that like I was like, some I know I was told I was a channel by the psychic years ago, and that to spirits and things I look like a light to them. It's like, because I'm meant to like cross people over and stuff. So like in the spirit world I look like a bright light, and so they're drawn to me because they want help. And it makes sense. It's like every house my parents bought was haunted. And that's another story. I think I do have that on some of my videos um on YouTube. But it's so weird because I was like, what's wrong with me? Like, how come I've seen all of these? I've seen too many things. And even my grandparents have experienced things. And I'm like, this is just weird. It's beyond weird. And I started listening to experiencers like deep diving the last couple of months because I wanted to do the alien tech video. And lo and behold, I not only hear so many similar stories to mine. Of course, some of them sound ultra exaggerated. We know that. And then I started going through my journals and realizing how many dreams I've had of being on spacecrafts and on and on. So I was like, okay, I guess I just need to do this and get real with myself. Now, with these congested intersections with the E.T.s, what they showed me is that, like, imagine like them traveling it so much that it's causing like this static is causing confusion. It's like, if you've ever driven in a big intersection that's like an exit off of like these interstates, and I'm gonna say Dallas for an example. I hate driving in Dallas. Like, I never want to be in Dallas again. There's so much snootier. Ugh. And I like Houston better. I'm an H-Town girl. I'm sorry, what can I say? I know that there's snooty people in Houston too, but the culture there is so like diverse, you know. And I know it's getting there in Dallas too. It's just that like I don't want to live in Houston again. Looking at the news, like I still am subscribed to like news on YouTube, and I'm like, oh, taco truck dude got killed. I'm like, Houston is like the new New York, guys. It's like uh, instead of shooting a hot dog stand dude, taco truck dude gets killed. What kind of an a-hole does that? You shot a taco truck dude. What is wrong with you? Loser, just to rob them. And then someone got hit and killed fatally downtown. Downtown is where it's slow. Like, downtown is like, everyone thinks downtown is crazy and hectic, but that's not how it is in any downtown except for maybe New York. Like it's the quietest, slowest place. It's always around the city that's crazy, right? Someone hits someone and kills them, and then they found a decomposing body. This was all within like 30 seconds of each other uploaded on Houston. I was like, yeah, I don't miss the cops flying over my house because they're chasing someone. So I'm like really glad I got the hell out of Dodge. Really. Um, but I definitely, I don't know. I kind of loved him too. But imagine driving somewhere like that. Okay. And say the crazy drivers are so terrible that you get flustered and you get like a wrong turn and you're like, where am I? This is what's happening to cryptids and spirits because of these ETs driving them crazy. And I think that really is why things like Skinwalker Ranch exist. I also wonder if, because it's getting so much attention now, if maybe ETs are not going to use that as a a portal or a pit stop, because I wonder if like what people call vortexes, it might be like an intersection where they're actually kind of getting in and out of this dimension. And so it is what they would call a vortex, but it's like different in the minds of the ones traveling it. It's just simply an intersection. It's not a big deal. It's not any more special than anywhere else. It's just that that's the spot they chose to go in and out, in and out, in and out. And it's just making it crazy psycho, right? Okay. Now, I feel really bad though for the cryptids and the spirits who go through this. And, they always want to talk about like evil. Like, I'm not saying it wasn't, but, the last time I really heard legitimate facts on Skinwalker Ranch, there's a lot of dark stuff that happened. But you've got to remember, there are a lot of dark entities, but it doesn't make them all bad. Like, um, if you go back to the Book of Enoch, every single evil spirit is supposed to be tethered here. And I'm like, thanks a lot, guys. That was a great idea. We don't really need like continual baggage being tethered here, for thousands of years. So it means it's only going to get worse. So, what I do think though is that like when people try to like, what comes to mind is the old movie Poltergeist that I grew up with as a little kid. Like, where they're testing the spirits, the poltergeist, that's not going to work in, say, an intersection or a vortex because the things that are passing through are not the same things all the time. So if you're trying to test them and get the same result over and over again, it probably won't happen because you never know who's passing through. So it's kind of like, say, um, you're driving a Mercedes Benz down again a nice intersection in Houston, and there's like hobos there, and they're like holding signs like "Give me some money." Sometimes they come up and they start spraying your windshield without permission, and you have to shoo them off. Sometimes they just hold the sign and look really sad. Sometimes they flip you off if you don't give them any money. Sometimes, it's like the way they respond is different. Like if you hold out money for them, some of them will run out and get it. Some people, it's every way you respond as a traveler. So I guess I should reverse it too. Like say you are the hobo and you're asking for help. Some people hang cash out the window. Some people will actually get out, run out when the red light's on and throw something at you. You know what I mean? Some people will like literally roll up their window and lock their doors. It's like you're not going to get the same outcome every single time. Let's see. I'm trying the page and see what they're. Oh my God. Are you kidding me? I'm like seeing how many more pages of notes I have, but it's probably because, or I don't know if any of you guys are like this, but are you one of those people that make a list and then you don't look at your list because since you wrote it down, you remember or you think you do? And then even if you look at your list a million times, there's still one thing you miss. That's pretty much my life. Okay. Oh, yeah, I did want to mention this dream too. I had this dream back in the early 2000s, and it was angels that showed me this in this dream. And the angels, when I see angels in dreams, they always just look human. And they were showing me like this elevator. Imagine an elevator door opening in the middle of space. And black space of stars everywhere, just out in the great out there. And the elevator opens as bright and there's like these laughing teenagers getting off. And they said this is what humans are doing right now. They're trying to travel the astral realms, but they don't know what they're doing, and they're like big kids, and it's dangerous. They're hopping on and off into realms and worlds they don't understand. And that could play along for it was kind of big in the early 2000s and late 90s for people to really push lucid dreaming and trying to force yourself to have astral projection. And I think that was part of it. Like people are crazy to try to force that because you don't know what you're doing. And I think maybe even the government, like you look at the Philadelphia experiment and all these different things, like they are dabbling with things they don't understand, and it causes a lot of trouble. Let's see. Yes, I'm looking at my notes. So, okay. So yeah, pretty much cover that. I do want to get to this part since I want to try to keep these, between like 45 minutes and an hour on average. But I have a question for abductees, or maybe like some of you guys may have the same questions, is how is it possible for some people to be like, oh yeah, I've given birth to tons of alien babies or had them cut out of me, right? And Some people are like, yeah, 'cause I've been on spacecrafts a bunch of times, and they swear up and down that they have. But how come the examples with the most evidence, literal evidence, like say Brazil, for example, you touch them, you die. Okay. They're full of radiation. They're toxic. There's no, even if you wanted to, even if you wanted to be nice, like I listened to something recently where this lady was sad because they saw the alien and then they left it. And she was like crying, like, what could I do? I wish I did something. And I'm like, are you kidding? If you touched it, you would die. You would die. Like, that's apparently what's happening. I mean, it's apparently like, you've heard some people say, don't touch the spaceship, like, don't get near them because, like, the radiation is so strong. And one guy that supposedly picked up an alien in Brazil literally died. And they have a lot of documentation to go with that. I'm not saying it's foolproof, but I'm saying it looked like they had a lot of documentation to prove that. And a lot of people that claim that they've been abducted don't have any proof other than hearsay, right? And anyway, I'm wondering how real it is. I'm not saying people aren't. I'm just wondering if it's not happening all in astral and it feels so real, or if some of them aren't deliberately claiming it was physical, even though it was just an astral. Now, I will say, I had a dream once, I don't know, a couple of years ago, that I was abducted, and I was on a ship. And it's weird because you just know that that's where you're at, or that's what they want you to believe. And I was like so like, drugged up that I just remember looking around and being like, ugh. And I don't remember seeing anyone. I know there's other people there. None look like aliens, look like humans. Talking about like X-Files, right? And this was before I really watched X-Files. I kind of deep dove into that. I don't know. Probably after COVID because nothing else to do. And I actually like fell in love with Mulder and Scully, and I was like, I love them. But um this was before I started watching that, and it was weird that I was like, dang, they kind of had it down like what I dreamt of, which is like they looked human. And it was a woman in a lab coat, and they were cutting a baby out of me. And it was weird because it didn't feel like an alien baby. And it felt almost like they wanted me to think it was a premonition of the future, like it hadn't happened yet. And she was saying that this was for my own good. Like, this is for your own good. Like, the impression she gave me was that if you were to have it there on Earth, it would be dangerous. And so they have to take it to keep it safe. And like when I woke up, I was like, oh, that was a weird dream. Like, it didn't even feel like astral. I have had astral experiences. I have been ripped out of my body. And only one time where legit, like the last video I talked about, the little green men thing. I'm like, oh my God, that's embarrassing, but it's what happened. Most of the time, the things I saw when I was ripped out of my body were like, uh, the tall, they weren't short, they were tall, dark, black, cloaked with red eyes. And then there was a time when I never could see anything, but I could sense it and feel it. And it would usually be after I had dreams of those certain like angelic beings, which are very likely maybe fallen ones, right? So, and they weren't fun experiences. It was really like painful, and I was mistreated a lot. But back to that whole abduction dream, I don't go around telling people that it really happened. I don't go around telling people I know for a fact that I was physically abducted. I wonder if it's not just like the Fae, right? And it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen really sometimes, because there are, like my daughter and I have talked about before, we want to do a video on this at some point, um, that she brings this up. She knows a whole lot more about Fae lore than I do, because I've given her the freedom to be herself and study the things she's always loved to study. Like, I studied Egyptology when I was since junior high. I loved it. And my parents hated it. My dad would yell at me about it. Like, I did this beautiful project and I drew all the main gods. And when I drew Toth or Thoth, or however you want to say it, I couldn't find a picture of them. We didn't have the internet then. This was like, I don't know, like 94, 95. And my dad had at some point gotten the internet, but like, it wasn't like I could go find an image. Okay. Like people can now. And they had like encyclopedias and things, and they had pictures of some of the other deities, but not of Toth. And so I really wanted to, I just drew based on description. And my teacher was blown away. She said it was so realistic, it wasn't funny. And all of my images drawn were so realistic. And I kept those for years, and I think I lost them. We moved so much. Um, and so she not only, when I did my presentation and in my artwork, like she like literally would not stop bragging on me, because all the other kids didn't really put a lot into it, because we were doing world history at the time in ancient Egypt. And that was what opened the doors for me to be absolutely obsessed with archaeology and Egyptology. And I was probably in 8th grade. And so this would have been like, I don't know, 90. Oh, it would have been 94 or so, I think. So anyway, when I brought it home and the grade was on there, like my dad like chastised me and yelled at me and told me off. And he was like, "What in the hell are they doing letting you look at Egyptian deities? This is why I put you in a private Christian school." I was like, "I'm not worshiping them, Dad." Like, I love the study of them. Like, even now, I'm gonna have to do a video too on all the deities that have visited me in dreams. I never knew before. Tyr, the Odin, some Indian god with like lots of arms. I've had this goddess of the Himalayan mountains take me in the mountains before. I never knew who they were. I literally would have them in a dream and then go look it up and find that I had a literal god or goddess come to me in a dream. Okay. And so, anyway, my dad was furious. And so I've always let my daughter have free will to wonder, because it's like I've always taught her is that I am not like pagan in a sense that I worship any deity. But I think that it's very imperative to honor and respect what we don't understand. And the reason why I say that is because so many religious people want to say that they're all fallen angels and they're all evil. And I do think some of them are certainly fallen angels, or what we would call fallen angels, because that's just the term that Enoch and people had, right? But I think some of them also are not fallen. And we are not wise enough to know the difference. And if some people want to argue with me on that, go ahead. There's this verse in the Bible where it talks about people that are like, um, what is it? Talking, slandering celestial beings that they don't understand are like brute beasts, mere animals of base instincts, good for no thing. Or they're, yeah, good for nothing. Okay. It's basically what was said about them in the New Testament, by the way. So all of these Christians who think that they're so hot for, downing pagan culture, um, they're insulting celestial beings they don't understand, and is not really very wise. So anyway, my daughter has had the freedom to study where she felt called. I've always given her that freedom, and she's always been pulled to Greek mythology first. That was her entryway for her. And then absolutely loves like Nordic, because, we do have, what is it, some Swedish and Denmark in our blood. And something else. I can't remember what the other one was. You know how it comes and goes. DNA is like so weird. They keep changing stuff up. One minute I'm legit like 80% just Scottish and Irish, and the next minute they're like, not, you're a little more British than you thought, or whatever. And I had German in the beginning, and now I don't. It's just like Denmark and Sweden, and I have more Wales than I had last year. So it's like, you never know, right? Um, but I will say that her studying the Nordic deities has really brought back, I love it. And also the Fae. She loves studying like Celtic and culture, and it brought back my desire to get into my roots, and absolutely love it. And there are people who get sick and die. She mentioned some guy who like, I don't know, like maybe cut down y'all may know the story, I don't know. But this guy, I don't know if it's an old story, new, I'll have to ask her. Some guy I think had cut down a tree that was sacred to the fairy. And in the process, somehow he got really sick and died. But she said she's seen so many stories that when people like offend the Fae, or when they're abducted and taken by the Fae and they lose track of time and they thought they were gone for an hour, but it was really like 3 years or something, right? They get really sick and they die. And not always, but many times. And so a lot of people are scared of the Fae. For those of you who don't think that there's still Fae stories out there, there's literally a podcast on Spotify where they just posted a new one with mounds and Fae. And the stories are so similar to alien abductions. It's not funny. So how do we know that really Alien abductions are just not a new painted version. It's a rebranded thing that the Fae and the trickster spirits do because it's believable and it's fun for them. Or what if they're not all kind of related? Like they might even be different, but still same tactics. So I just don't see how the abductions are real without you having radiation poisoning. What is the reasoning? Like, do any of y'all have a fill in the gap? Because I actually want real answers. It's not like I'm trying to invalidate. I mean, I heard one lady talk about how she would accidentally had a miscarriage and she saw the gray in the toilet. And then all of a sudden it was gone. And I'm like, is that real? Or did she not, like, did she just have like a, what do you call it, a nervous breakdown? Or is she lying? Because, babies look like aliens when they're young fetuses. And if she like freaked out and like took it and threw it away or something in a panic, she might have blacked out and not remember she did it. So I'm really trying to ask valid questions. I'm not trying to invalidate anybody's experience as much as I'm really trying to get to the meaty center of this dilemma we have going on. um, oh, I do want to mention this too. And then I guess I'll wrap things up because it's getting late. Oh my goodness. Okay, y'all know on 9/11 this year, there was this cloud. Okay, first off, we heard this huge craft go over our house a few nights before that. And it was so loud and it was so low. The only thing remotely close to that was when I lived in Abilene and they have like an Air Force out there, some kind of air base or something. Now, but this sounded lower. It sounded like you could touch the plane that flew over our house. And it was so loud. Our house was rattling. But then we go outside and there's nothing there. There's no sign of a plane anywhere at all. And this is in seconds, okay? There's no way it can just disappear out of nowhere. I was like, it could be like a C-130 refueling or something because we have those that fly in between Oklahoma and Little Rock and they go refuel in Fort Smith a lot. We see them there all the time, but I just as low as it was in the house rattling, that's the only thing I can think of. Either it was a big craft like that was refueling and somehow we missed the window to see it and ever hear it again because it's like no sound when we went outside, or it was something else. And then on 9/11 this year, which is creepy because I mentioned what happened to me on 9/10/2001 in the last video. And I kind of had been reflecting over that with all of this research. So I go out on 9/11 and I look up at the sky because we look at it every night without fail, every night. We've seen so many like unexplainable things since we've moved up here, and the stars are so beautiful. There's no light pollution up here. And oh my God, you can see the Milky Way. We have fireflies in Houston. The mosquito trucks have killed them all. And it's magical up here. I absolutely love it. And we have like Bigfoot, what do you call it? Those big silhouette things in so many people's yards and businesses all over. And I live in the Ouachitas, so we have Bigfoot festivals everywhere. And then we have like this board camp crystal mine where they swear aliens have visited, and they've been on that Unexplained show. I forget what it's called. But something about the crystals. That's one thing I'm so glad I thought of this. I know some of you'll think I'm taking forever and that's fine, but I want to do this as more of a podcast version. I do. So I really wondered sometimes if they weren't using the crystals to recharge. And I know like some people probably just laugh and think we're nuts because I'll watch some people like say Strange Recon and stuff, and like he's uh kind of like debunks everything. But I don't think he does it in a bad way. He really does bring up a lot of valid points people need to consider. He'd probably think I'm nuts because I'm a mystic. And it's like, look, I like being a mystic, but I still like to ask rational things. Like I said, I come from a STEM family. And so he'd probably think I'm nuts for saying this, but I'm like, I really did wonder if they weren't using crystals to charge or something. And the reason why I say that is because we use crystals for all kinds of energy, right? And we have crystal grids all in the mountains here. So I was like, well, what if they aren't like coming here? Like, say their ships have to recharge, they might be coming to these crystal grids to literally absorb lots of energy so that they can travel again. And maybe that's what we saw that night coming away from the mountain. And then I don't know. It's just a theory. But then after I heard about all these underground bases and creepy alien grays that supposedly send us all these like voice of God creepy stuff, and they all want to harm us. Apparently, Phil Schneider, stuff. Um, Maybe there is an underground base here. I've wondered about that because sometimes I see planes and helicopters flying to nowhere. Like they're flying west to Oklahoma. There's nothing there for hours and hours and hours, and they're not flying real high. And I'm like, where are y'all going? There is nothing out there. Ain't nothing out there. Ain't nothing out there. Ain't nobody got time for that, right? No. I don't know. I don't know. But I mean, like late at night, like what is going on? I don't know. It's not like commercial stuff, okay? So anyway, a lot of these small, tiny planes and little helicopters, I don't like really. I don't think. I mean, I know people that work offshore, like they don't even like flying their helicopters at night. Okay. So anyway, what was I thinking? That thing that we saw on 9/11 was so creepy because we went out to go look at the sky and it was clouds over our house. But above the clouds were shining down two huge circular lights. And like it wasn't shining like through the clouds, it's like it was something hiding behind the clouds. It wasn't like, where a beam is hitting clouds. It was above the clouds, shining down directly over our house. The clouds were so low. This thing was above our house. These two circular white lights and or light blue or something. And then every so often you would see a third one like below one of them, go from like two to three. Maybe the clouds are so thick we couldn't always see that one. Wouldn't move, didn't stay. There's no way it was a star or the moon. We look at this stuff every night, so we know what is normal. Not normal, not normal. Way too big to even be a reflection of a star or the moon. With the clouds, it was big, big round circles of light. And I was like, is this them like trying to just intimidate me is what I was wondering, because I had called them on some BS, a couple of nights before, because I felt like whatever that message was from that light being before 9/11, different, in '01, was maybe full of bunk and like they were using me, like trying to manipulate me. And I was so naive then. I was spiritual. I was one of those people that would have legit believed it was, an angel or something. And what if it wasn't just one of these things fooling you, right? Pretending to be something that's holy, but really it's just a manipulator or trickster. And so I was challenging that. And that's what I see when I go outside. I did not let my kids stay out there alone because, like, my Gab had to put my moose in, who's named after Sam Winchester. And then, River just wanted to come out and look for fun. Um, and I was like, y'all need to go in. I need to get a shower. And I was like, we need to have all the outside rescue TNR kitties fed. And we need to just get inside and lock up. I don't want y'all out here without me. Need to get a shower. And go back outside after my shower. Gone. Nothing there. And the clouds were thicker, darker, and it was drizzling. And then I go look at my phone, and I have this alarm set to unplug my Wi-Fi at night since it's so bad for you. And my alarm had gone off. And the song that was on it was, I don't know how you pronounce this band. Iscantia. I don't know, because I hate it when Texans do the double L. Like, being from New Orleans and Southern Louisiana originally, it's like, it's a foyer, not a foyer. It's a foyer. And then lived in West Texas, and we had a what do you call it? A fast food restaurant called Taco Villa, and so really so much better than Taco Bell, by the way. Um, and so like when I moved back to East Texas, oh my God, my old boss Dash, the ghost man in Galveston, would always say Ashton Villa. And I'm like, stop saying Villa, please. It's Via. Via. It is Via. So like after living with like French culture and then Hispanic culture, like there are certain words that I really can't stand it when like they intentionally say it wrong. It's like when British people say fillet. What are you doing? Like just don't ever say that word again. Never say fillet. Like just don't. Like pretend you don't know what that word is. Like it's a French word, so just don't even pretend you know what that. Just say fish, okay? Because you're going to drive me nuts. And I know like uh my brother laugh. He is a waiter. He used to be a waiter, bartender, and stuff in Houston. And he was like, you think it's bad that your boss says villa? I have guys from India and Pakistan that come in and say, I want your fajitas. They call fajitas fajitas. It's cute. I mean, I give them a pass, okay? But if you literally live in between, and people think America has only one language, and I'm like, if you live in between people that speak French and Spanish, no excuse, okay? None. Um, but anyway, those freaky lights are so weird. And oh yeah, I went off from my song because I don't know how to say it. I'm like, is it skintia? Is it scintilla? I don't know because I think there's some cultures where double L is actually pronounced. I don't know. You guys tell me. So, um, the song was called Mothership. Okay. That was on my freaking phone. Tell me they weren't messing with me. And it was at 1027. I told you guys I keep seeing 1027 everywhere. It's like I know people with that birthday, and that was what my ex. That's the day he wanted to get married, and I was like, and I'm sorry, I have to stay single for the rest of my life because this last relationship legit tore me up from the inside out. I'm toe up from the flow up, and I probably need like 5 surgeries because he was so abusive. And like I had 2 other marriages before that. This is how dumb I am. But I was raised with really narcissistic parents who told me basically taught me my value and worth is how well I cook and clean and perform in the bedroom. So I really was in like Stockholm syndrome for years before I broke free from their kind of conservative Christian like brainwashing. And they always enabled like shitheads, right? And pardon my French, I know it's supposed to be naughty, but come on, I just watched Infinite 888 Tarot use the F bomb multiple times for Aquarius, and he had ads all up in that. But yet, Strange Recon can't get ads if he says one no no. I don't know. So anyway, um, I literally my first marriage was on a Friday the 13th because I didn't believe in bad luck. This is how like non like, whatever I was in. And it was like big mistake, right? I don't like me and my daughter both agree. Like she said it so well that Friday the 13th probably was never meant to be bad luck day, but because everyone keeps building it up and adding to it and creating negative around it, they fed it kind of like the tulpa, right? And then the next time I got married, oh my god, it was wild. Pearl Harbor Day. That was smart. It was just the day that the guy happened to be able to meet us at no less Oyster Creek in Houston. I got married on Pearl Harbor Day at Oyster Creek. How dumb am I? So I'm like, it's only common sense that getting married on 1027 is going to probably create some kind of a bad event in the future if it hasn't already happened in the past, and I just don't know it yet. So, note to self, like I'm literally going to stay completely celibate for the rest of my life. I don't even like sex. I like romance. I'm like an asexual who is like super demi romantic. All I've ever wanted was romance, and men have been ruined. They all think that we're like, I don't know, Playboy bunnies or something, which is not romantic at all. Now, let's see. Is there anything else I was going to say before I wrap things up? I'm like looking and peeking and I just don't know. Oh god, I don't know if I should have put that on there. No. Okay. Okay, this is weird. I don't even know why I should say this. But I had a dream. I won't say what it was because I don't want to offend anyone, but it was on October 2nd and it did signify war. And then all of a sudden, here they are, war starting on the 7th between Hamas and Israel, which, by the way, some Agorist leaders are actually saying that Israel created Hamas a lot like the government, the CIA created like Al Qaeda for profit, war money. And that was just sick if it's true. And anyway, I know so many people are polarized and taking these dramatic sides, in the news. And I'm just sitting here like, I agree with like more of some of these agorists where it's like war is never a good idea and all the innocent people getting hurt is not okay. And like the weird thing with the conservative Christians being so pro like Israel, the thing that bothers me about it is like if you look at what they're doing behind closed doors, and I'm not talking the innocent people that live anywhere in the area, I'm talking the government, okay? They're doing all the creepy experiments that got them in trouble to begin with. They're the ones who wrote the books. Okay, they're the ones who wrote Enoch and kept up with it. They're the ones who wrote all this stuff about how you don't do these creepy experiments that the fallen angels did. They're the ones who like literally molded this whole scenario of fallen angel stuff. And here they are creating Chimera and all kinds of creepy projects there. It seems spooky evil to me. And I had I don't know if I want to keep telling all these dreams. I had this creepy dream years ago, 2008. I had so many dreams and downloads in '08. I think that's when Pluto entered Capricorn. And I actually had sponsored a child. Both, this was before like I had gotten divorced and had money, but I had sponsored a child in Rafa. I think it was Rafa, and also in West Bank. And one was a Christian and one was Muslim. And the one who was on the West Bank actually sent me a card uh on 888, and there was literally a lion on it, the stamp. And it's weird because I've had so many lion dreams lately. um anyway, I could go in so many rabbit holes, but the dream I had about Israel in 2008, I saw their uniforms, the green with the weird, like the maroon, like beret that's actually pinned on their side. I had never seen it before in my entire life. And in the dream, they were in like these control rooms and they were talking. And all of a sudden, I saw this huge atomic bomb blow up Israel. And I heard the Spirit of the Lord actually say to me, I don't want this to happen. It can be prevented, but if things don't change, it's going to happen. And it freaked me out. And then the next day, I turned on the TV, and I had only a few channels, and the 700 Club was on, which y'all will laugh your brains out that I ever even thought about watching that with that crazy Pat guy on there. But literally, I had nothing else to watch, and they had some news on there. Sure enough, they showed these people in a control room. Oh my God. Oh, I woke up to that dream with fireworks too. Even weirder. But when I looked at the TV, same exact uniforms, same exact control room. Freaked me out. Okay. Nothing new for me now. But anyway, I had this dream that I wanted to mention to you guys, which doesn't have anything to do with this, but the reason why I do this is I want to actually eventually be able to run this stuff off with other people and see. I had a dream that my best friend from a past life, and I had this dream a few weeks ago, was duped into marrying a Sikh guy who was in the military. What country, I don't know. But I know she was not in the US. And he had on a kind of like a green military uniform, and he had like a red or a maroon Sikh like turban on. And in the picture, they're kissing. And she said, like, you know, how she's going to get married to him and she can't wait to come back to the States and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, in the dream, from what I saw, it wasn't he killed her. It was he was working secretly for the CIA, and they were doing experiments, and they were getting like girls that they had no home, because in that life, like grew up like kind of in an orphanage together, and or foster kind of orphanage thing. Like she had a mother who was real abusive and mean, but I didn't have any parents, so that's why she was there. And so they knew she had no family, and so they were like luring her to some kind of experiments, and they were going to kill her. And this was like in the 70s, okay? So something made me think about that tonight, listening to Mysterious Radio and this guy talking about some, I don't know, in 1969, blah, 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 blah. And all this popped in my head. And I looked it up, and sure enough, the CIA has been literally like trying to use the Sikhs. And they actually supposedly created some Sikh uprising. And I'm like, what else have they done that we don't know about? It is so freaking creepy. When I have these dreams, it's like I want to know. And I don't want to get myself in trouble. I'm like, you know, I don't need to be suicided like good old Phil. But I will say that I don't really have a following like him. So maybe I'll be fine. I don't know. All I know is that they're creepy. So I guess that's it for tonight. Whenever you watch this, you know, whatever. Anyway, if any of you guys have any theories, you can bounce back off of me. Sometimes I don't get to my comments right away. YouTube won't show me I have comments, like if I have it set to filter. So I may not see it. And I think I try to do these questionnaire things on Spotify, but it's like, it seems like my Spotify is like literally like no one's ever going to see it. And what else? Like even the embed doesn't work on my WordPress for my like blog or whatever, website, what have you. So that's all I have. And thanks for listening. If you made it this far, that's amazing. So maybe I'm not just like invisible. And love y'all. Bless y'all till next time.